Go, go, go. It's go time. In English, when you say it's go time, it means it's time to start. It's kind of a informal way to say that. Sometimes when we're sitting in the staff room in the morning at school, the bell goes and then someone will say, well, it's go time. So it is go time for this English lesson. Everything sounds good. Everything looks like it's working well. We're going to start in 18 minutes on this English lesson about when things go wrong. Part 2. I had to call it part 2 because I was halfway through making the lesson and I realized, I think I've done this before, but with all different words. There's a link in the description to that one. You can go and have a look at it if you want. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about when things go wrong, part 2. So I thought of this lesson because they built a new concert venue in Toronto. It's called the Rogers Stadium, I think. And they had their first concert there. And it went okay, but when the concert was over, it took over 2 hours for people to leave the venue. They didn't design it very well. So it was kind of a debacle. It was kind of a screw up on someone's part. Someone certainly botched the plans for that stadium. And as I thought of those words, I thought I should do an English lesson on this. So I started making it, and then I realized that I've already done one, but I was using all different words. So if you do want to watch part 1, there is a link in the description below to part 1, but welcome to this English lesson about when things go wrong. Sometimes in life, everything goes really good, but sometimes things go wrong. And in this English lesson, I'll teach you about 30 words that you can use to describe those situations. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about when things go wrong, part 2. Hey, how is everybody? It is good to be here. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Freddie Wolf, Lolly Lolly, Mode Eggs. Mode says, okay, I have my water bottle and I'm ready. What could possibly go wrong? Hopefully nothing. Let me double check to make sure everything is working properly. Yeah, that looks like everything's working the way it's supposed to. Nothing is going wrong during this live stream. I should knock on wood for good luck to make sure everything keeps going well. Anyways, I was saying hi to Ismail, Burgett, Nitesh, Claudio, Ruth, Patricia, Key Park, Mino Smil, Hafiez is here. Vitor was here earlier to say that he could not make it today. That he will not be chatting today. He has dengue fever, which is not thrilling. That is not a very nice thing to have. That is, yes, hopefully he gets better soon. Hi to Mode Eggs. I think I said hi to you already. Rose, Brinda, Zara, Hite. This is a live English lesson. Like, it's happening right now. This is not recorded. Well, if you're watching it later today, it is, but this is happening right now. And Mode says in the chat, I can hear you all right. Good to see, or good to hear that. And hi to everyone. I think I should probably get started. I kind of already explained why I'm doing this lesson. Lesson ideas always come to me from my life or from the news. So when things go wrong, part 2 is based on a new stadium in Toronto where I guess at the second concert, things went a little bit better. They must have fixed some things. Hi to Judith. Good to see you as well. Should we get started? I think we should. Let me have a sip of water. And I'm going to try not to talk too loud. If you're wondering how I'm doing, I went to the doctor. Everything is in the right spot. The fracture is beginning to heal of my collarbone, and I should be right as rain in about 5 weeks. So still a little bit of time for that. My leg feels much better, and my physiotherapist said to start walking again. So today I'm going to go for a 15-minute walk and build up. But hey, let's get this lesson started. Chaos. Chaos refers to complete confusion and lack of control. We use this word quite a bit. Like if I leave my classroom, depending on what students I have, if I step into the hallway to talk to another teacher, when I return, it might be chaos in my classroom. If you let children try to bake by themselves without supervision, when you return to the kitchen, there might be chaos, complete confusion, and lack of control. We often use chaos to refer to a situation where children especially are behaving a little bit badly, right? When I go to a family reunion on Jen's side, there are so many little kids around, it can be chaos. They throw things and they run around and they're loud. I like little kids, but they can actually cause chaos in certain situations. So chaos, complete confusion, and lack of control. You can also use this to talk about traffic. Like, oh, it was just chaos on the highway on the way to work this morning. It was a mess. It was not organized. There was lots of confusion. Failure. So this is one that you probably are aware of, not achieving what was planned. As you can see, this guy fell down as he was finishing the race. Although if I look in the distance, maybe I chose a bad picture. Failure, not achieving what was planned. Let's pretend that this guy planned to finish the race, but as he was approaching the finish line, he fell down and was unable to finish it. That would be a failure. It's not a nice word, but a failure would be when you try to achieve something and it doesn't end up happening. That is how we would talk about something that is a failure. A disaster, a complete failure or terrible event. So there are two ways we use this word. There are actual disasters in the world, like flooding or natural disasters, maybe a tsunami. Those are natural disasters. But we also use the word to refer to anything that doesn't go well. If Jen went to market and if it rained and she didn't sell any flowers, she might come home and say it was a disaster. It rained, the market was open for 5 hours and it rained for 5 hours. No customers bought flowers. She would then say it was a disaster. So you can use it to refer to like a plane crash or a serious disaster, but we also use it to describe smaller situations where things don't go well. If Jen made 50 bouquets and went to market and only sold one, that would be a disaster. A screw up. So be careful with this one. It is informal, but a screw up is any kind of mistake that someone makes, a careless mistake. And then I put in brackets that this is informal. So what would a screw up be? A screw up would be, let's say you invite someone over for supper and you ask them what they like to eat and they say they don't eat meat, and then you cook chicken for the meal. That would be a screw up. The people would arrive and they would say, oh, we're vegetarian. We don't eat meat. And you would say, oh, I'm sorry. That was my bad. That's a very informal way to take ownership, but that would be a screw up. So a careless mistake. There's a lot of screw ups in life. I don't want to use the market as an example again, but sometimes the vendors enter in the wrong order, and then it's a bit of a screw up. It's a bit of a careless mistake. Mess. So mess is a very universal word, a situation that is badly organized. And it kind of has two meanings. Like on the floor here, you can see that there is a mess. So a mess is whenever anything just isn't organized, okay? But you can also say something's a mess when it's not planned well. So let's say you planned a surprise party and you invited everyone to come to your apartment and you didn't tell them what time to come. That would be a mess. People would arrive at all different times and it just wouldn't work very well. So when something is a mess, it's a situation that is badly organized or an actual mess. Like this is an actual mess on the floor here. A flop, something that completely fails. So these two guys look really sad in the picture. I imagine that one of them decided to have a birthday party and no one came. And I feel bad, but it's something that completely failed. So this birthday party is a flop. Another example would be if you're planning any kind of event and you're hoping that 100 people come and only 3 people come, you would say it's a flop. That was just a flop. That didn't work out very well. Not as many people came. You can also have this when you're cooking. Like if you try a new recipe and when you taste it, it doesn't taste very good because you didn't follow the recipe very well. You would say it's a flop. Oh, this cake was a flop. This recipe, this dish that I made is a flop. It does not look the way it's supposed to look, and it does not taste the way it's supposed to look. It is a flop. A collapse is a sudden failure. So there could be a collapse in the stock market. There could be a collapse in the confidence people have in a political leader. There can be a physical collapse where like a bridge falls down. All of these would be things not going well. But we often use this word to talk about the stock market. So if you own stocks and the market goes down, you could say the market is collapsing. The market has collapsed. Things are not going well. A malfunction. So a malfunction is a failure to work properly. And we most often use this word to talk about machines. So maybe your car has a malfunction. Maybe your computer has a malfunction. Maybe the photocopier at work isn't working because there is a malfunction. It is a failure to work properly. So this computer just says error, try again. Click here for more information. That's a pretty vague error. But malfunction would be when a machine, like a car or a computer, anything like that, when it's not working properly, you could say it is a malfunction. We often just use the English word broken, like my computer has a malfunction, my computer is broken. A setback, a problem that delays progress, and usually temporarily. So a setback doesn't last a long time. If you were driving somewhere and all of a sudden you realized that you had a flat tire, this is just a setback, a problem that delays your progress to getting to where you need to go. But it's not the end of the world, we would say in English. It's really a minor setback. You would just need to put air in the tire or change the tire and put on your spare tire. That's what you would need to do. So it would be a setback, a minor setback. Hey, let's look at some questions. I'm going to get to the word fiasco. I see people using it in the chat. Very cool. Yes, people can collapse as well, Julia. Good point. Okay, let me get to the questions. There's not a lot, so that will go quickly. Possible says, I wonder if it's global that there is chaos when family members are together. What do you think? When family get together, sometimes it's enjoyable, but sometimes there's just a lot of people. I would say it this way. Often a family will live in a house, and the house will be big enough for the mom and dad and the 3 kids. And then when they have a family reunion, or maybe it's Christmas or some other celebration, and then there are 50 or 60 people in the house, then it's chaos. People have to wait in line if they want to use the bathroom. Maybe the air conditioning can't keep up and it gets really hot in the house. But yes, I think it's probably a global phenomenon that when a lot of family members get together, it can definitely be chaos. For sure. From Hajur, how can I improve my writing skills? Give us some tips. Thanks for your effort, Teacher Bob. God bless you. So my view on this is you need to practice what you want to get better at. So 2 things. Let me give you 3 pieces of advice. Number 1, leave comments on videos. Even if the YouTuber doesn't respond, write the comment anyways. Number 2, see if you can find an email pen pal. That's someone who you can write back and forth to in English. That would just be great. And the third thing would be just copy out English that you see. That can be quite helpful as well. From Know That, hello, Bob. Has anything ever gone wrong while you were at the market or before you went there? Do you have a memorable experience that you remember? Thanks, Bob. So 2 things. A minor thing would be if it rains. That is a bit of a disaster, okay? Because we can't sell the flowers anywhere else. But that happens maybe once a year. It's actually not that common. We've been very thankful. But there was a time where 3 buildings on the street where the farmer's market is caught fire. and they had to close the street, and we had to go home early from market. Like, it was an actual disaster. So that was not an enjoyable experience. That happened, I think that was 2017 or yeah, like it was very smoky. It was not a pleasant experience at all, for obviously for the people who own the buildings, but also for the vendors who were there. Let's see here. I'm just reading the chat for a second here, and then I will get back to the questions. I like it. I just like seeing the conversations over there. It's very cool. It's cool to not have to be part of it. Let's see here from Minos Mill. Good morning, Bob. Wonderful to know you will be right as rain very soon. To my question, is the expression, what a shame, a way to show sorrow? It's when something happens that could have been good, but it's not good. So if you say, I applied for a new job, but I didn't get it, someone might say, oh, what a shame. You would have been really good at that job. Or if you said to someone, I bought a new car and I bumped into someone yesterday, someone might say, oh, what a shame. Like, it was so nice that you had a new car, but then you bumped into someone or you hit someone with it. So yes, that's how what a shame would be used. And I like the word right as rain. I'm working on becoming right as rain. I'm not allowed to do physio yet with my collarbone and shoulder, but I'm supposed to work on my range of motion. So still kind of working through that, because if you don't use it, you lose it, apparently. Range of motion, that is. Let's see here. From Mode, hi, Mr. Bob. Glad to hear your recovery is going well. What's a fail-safe plan? And do you think Minos Mill's strategy about your birthday is foolproof? Thanks. I will make no comments about my birthday. I made a comment last week. That's the only hint for the year. But in terms of a fail-safe plan, it is a plan that's designed to work all the time. Okay. It's a plan where you've decided to do something and it can't fail, or there's very little chance of it failing. I'm trying to think of an example. Like, I have a fail-safe plan when I start teaching, where I memorize the names of all the students on the first day of school. And it has been a fail-safe plan ever since I've started teaching, except for 1 year where I'll explain that in another video. I had trouble remembering names, but something else was wrong. I'll have to explain that now, won't I? Let me finish talking about fail-safe plan. If I don't do it, then the semester doesn't go well. So my fail-safe plan, which always works, is I memorize the names the first day. Anyways, there was 1 year where I injured my neck, and it kind of reduced the blood flow to my brain a little bit. And I didn't know I had injured my neck. And then eventually I went to the hospital and figured that out. But I had trouble. I knew something was wrong because I couldn't memorize my students' names. From Unsel. Hi, Unsel. Good to see you. Hi, Mr. Bob. How are you doing? When things go wrong, do you panic or stay calm? And what helps you stay positive? Thanks. Bye. So here's what makes Bob happy. As long as my brain works, as long as I can watch TV and play computer games and read books and make YouTube videos, as long as my brain works, I'm generally happy. But in my situation, when I injured myself, for a couple of weeks, I had so much pain. My brain, I had trouble thinking. And that's when I don't enjoy it. But when things generally go wrong, if they aren't happening to me, I usually stay calm. I'm usually someone to say, okay, we don't have enough chairs in here. Let's go find some more chairs. Like if it was like a meeting at school, or if someone said the food's going to be late, what do we do? I would say, oh, well, let's do this for the next 10 minutes while we wait. Yeah, generally I'm a stay calm kind of person. Let's see here. Judith. Hi, Bob. I almost got a malfunction by forgetting to ask a question. Which book have you read about malfunctions last time? Thanks. Have a great time. So I think the last book about malfunctions would be, I always say The Martian, but there's a lot of things that malfunction in that book and in that movie. but I'm trying to think the last book about malfunctions, probably some kind of science fiction book. Generally, science fiction books often talk about things that are not going well, things that, the spaceship malfunctions, the computer malfunctions, the landing computer malfunctions. From Judith, hi Bob. The most embarrassing mistake is if something goes wrong on your wedding. Have you been at such a wedding? Little fix there. I haven't. I've been to weddings where the wedding starts late. I've been to a wedding where the cake fell off the table at the reception. I've been to a wedding where the mother-in-law and mother got in a fight. So that was a bit of a disaster. But anyways, yes. Yeah, weddings are interesting, aren't they? Because it's a lot of people doing something that they don't normally do. And a lot of people are very nervous at that time. So, okay. Manuel says there's nothing foolproof. And there's a phrase about that. Nothing is foolproof because fools are so ingenious. So nothing's foolproof because foolish people can figure it out. Okay, let's get back to the lesson. Let's do that. Let me read the chat for a bit. Gosh, it's hard to think of a question during the live. I should have prepared mine ahead of time. I'm so out of practice, or maybe I'm getting old. One of the two, but you're not that old yet, I don't think. Let's go. Blunder, a serious or embarrassing mistake. So a blunder would be something like this. If I was eating at work and I got my food and then I tripped and fell and I spilled my food on the ground, that would be a blunder. Sometimes leaders make a blunder. They'll say something that they weren't supposed to say when the journalists are interviewing them. They'll make a blunder. Or you could do something as simple as a recent president trying to get on the plane and then tripping would be a blunder. So yes, when you speak English, because you are learning English, you probably make mistakes, and you could call those mistakes blunders. Like, whenever I speak, I make a lot of blunders, serious or embarrassing mistakes. But don't be embarrassed. Keep speaking English and keep practicing. Mistake. So a mistake, this is the simple term, right? Doing something wrong or incorrect. Probably the most common thing would be in school. You will make a mistake on a quiz or on a test. Maybe you're solving math problems. 4 plus 2 is not 8. 2 times 3 is not 5. And 7 squared is not 14. In fact, the correct answers would be 6. 2 times 3 is 6. 7 squared would be 49. I think I got that right. 7 times 7. So did I do that right? Yes, I think I did that right. This is not a math lesson, but a mistake, this is the general term. If you were to use one term the most from this lesson, it would be the term mistake. Sometimes I make a mistake when I'm speaking English. Sometimes someone makes a mistake at work. A misstep. So this is a little more formal. We don't use this word a lot, but a misstep is simply a mistake. It's a wrong move or action, a wrong move or action. So this button says don't touch. It would be a misstep if someone was to touch it. So it's very similar to a mistake. In fact, I think it's like used interchangeably sometimes. Like, I didn't make a mistake. It was just a misstep. Like you're trying to make it sound a little lighter. An error, very similar to a mistake. In fact, the definition says a mistake usually in writing or math. If you look at this piece of writing, it says many flowers, and the A is crossed out and turned to an O because that is an error. Flowers is spelled Flowers, not Flawers. I wanted to read the rest of this because I actually think there's a mistake right here too, because beady isn't a word. It should be beauty, or the T should be a D if it's actually beady. Like if I have beady eyes, those are beady eyes, by the way. Did that scare you? Beady eyes are like big eyes that stare at you quite intently. I'm just watching the replay just to see what my beady eyes look like. I'm just waiting to see it. Hopefully I didn't scare any of you. Yep, those are big beady eyes. Okay, sorry, I'm entertaining myself instead of teaching you. To backfire. So to backfire is when something has the opposite effect of what was intended. There are many examples in history of things that backfire. So for instance, in the US, they decided to ban drinking alcoholic beverages, and it was called prohibition, but it kind of backfired because criminals started to make and sell alcohol, and all of a sudden criminals had a lot more money. I think there's an example too of countries saying you can only drive your car if the license plate starts with an odd number every other day, but this just resulted in people buying more cars. So they would have a car for every day of the week. This happened in a couple of countries. But when something backfires, the verb to backfire means when something has the opposite effect on what was intended. So here's a simpler example. Let's say my kids are very hyper and misbehaving, and I want them to calm down. And I say, I'll buy you candy if you can be quieter. Let's say we're driving in the car and they're really loud when they were little. If I give them candy, they'll have more sugar in them, and then they'll be even louder and crazier. So that would backfire on me. It would definitely backfire. Train wreck. So this is a little bit of an informal phrase, a chaotic or disastrous situation. When you do something, if it doesn't go well, you can describe it as a train wreck. So I would say this year at school. No, I shouldn't say this year, should I? There are times where students will do a presentation and it will be a train wreck. Maybe it's supposed to be 20 slides long and it's only 2 slides long. Maybe they did the wrong topic. Maybe they just don't do a very good job presenting it. You could say, oh, like you wouldn't say it to them because it's informal and it's a bit insulting, but you could say, wow, that was a train wreck. The very first time I had a French conversation online many years ago, it was a train wreck. Like I did a very, very bad job. It was not good. So again, similar to screw up, this is kind of an informal term, but a train wreck is a chaotic or disastrous situation. You can see the people in the photo are all like, what? Like, I don't know what they're seeing, but it's obviously not good and probably a train wreck. Omission, a person or thing that has been left out or excluded. And then I've given you a list of the best English teachers on YouTube. So we have Lucy, Tiffany, Luke does a podcast, Rachel, Vanessa, Greg. But you'll notice there's a few omissions. You probably have a favorite YouTube English teacher. Maybe it's me, but I'm not going to put myself on this list. And you might say, hey, there's an omission here. You forgot Brent from American English with this guy, or American English with Brent. I called him by his old name. Sorry, Brent. But you might say, hey, that list isn't complete. There are some omissions. There are some persons that have been left out or excluded. And this happens quite often in life. It can happen whenever someone makes a list. You might say to that person, hey, there's an omission here. You forgot someone. Like, why Lucy, Tiffany, Luke, Rachel, Vanessa, Greg? What about, and then I can't think of another. What about Mike? What about, I'm trying to think of the other English teachers on YouTube. I don't watch a lot of other English teachers on YouTube, but you might say there is an omission. Downfall. Whenever I think of the word downfall, which is the collapse or ruin of something or someone, I usually think of Rome. So Rome had a downfall. Okay, we sometimes say the fall of Rome, but at a certain point, Rome was no longer as big and as wonderful as it had been. There was a downfall. Sometimes a politician will have a downfall. They'll think of something or they'll find something in that politician's past, and then there'll be a downfall. So it will ruin their career because it is so negative. A decline, a steady drop in success, quality, or popularity. So sometimes there's a decline in the stock market. Sometimes there's a decline in the number of people buying things, and then the economy also has a decline. Sometimes there's a decline in the amount of nice weather. Sometimes, so it's whenever something goes down, there is a decline. And usually, well, it doesn't always have to be bad. There can be, like, there's been a decline in crime. That would be a good thing. So maybe that isn't something going wrong. But often when we use the word decline, we're talking about something getting worse. Okay, that's not true. If there's a decline in crime, that's good. If there's a decline in pollution, that's good. This might be the one where it can go both ways. Let me think of a better one. There's a decline in the amount of people who want to be police officers. See, that would be a bad thing for a country. Disruption. So I was trying to think of the best picture for disruption, something that interrupts or causes problems. Sometimes a student in class can be a disruption. If you were trying to take a train from one city to another and there were cows on the train track and the train had to stop, that would be a disruption, something that interrupts or causes problems. I've never seen this before, but when I did a search for disruption, this was one of the first pictures, and I thought it was an excellent example. If you're waiting for a train and the train is late, there was probably a disruption somewhere earlier in the train's journey. Maybe cows on the track, maybe the train broke down, maybe the computers weren't working, maybe there was a malfunction and that caused a disruption. So it's whenever something doesn't go the way it's supposed to go. Fiasco. This is a very common word in a lot of languages, and it means a total failure. So a fiasco is any time things go really badly. This is a picture of, I think, Black Friday, and this is a bit of a fiasco. Sometimes on Black Friday in the US, so many people try to buy the same thing that it causes fights, and it could even cause people to steal things or to get angry with each other or to get angry at the store manager. So a fiasco is they did not plan this well. They should have had a place for people to line up. They should have done it in an orderly fashion, but instead it has turned into a fiasco, a total failure. Hey, let's do some members only chat. If you don't know what that is, if you are a member, you get to ask questions directly in the chat right now. So I will turn that on and I will answer questions from the chat as well as from the queue. And if you haven't asked a question, I will put that right here again, because I think I'm running out of some questions in there. Oh, you can actually see the little mouse on the screen when I do that. But anyways, I'm going to have a sip of water while I wait for some questions, and then I will answer them. And then we will move on with the lesson in about 10 minutes. If you are one of the 250 people watching, thank you so much for being here. I do these lessons every Friday morning at 8:30. Most Friday mornings, about 45 a year. And I try to cover topics that are very relevant. Every English lesson I do, I choose words that are used in everyday English. Every word on this list, I've probably heard sometime in the last month or two when reading the news or talking to someone. So mistake, misstep, disruption to botch. That one's coming up. Snag, error to backfire, flop. All of those very, very common. So if you are interested, let me talk about memberships for a minute. There's a join button, or it might say subscribe plus. If you join that, you get a few perks. You get a lesson plan on Monday. You get an extra video on Wednesdays. When Bob's collarbone isn't broken, you get those things. You get your name in green during a live stream. You get a crown beside your name as well. And pretty soon you'll have access to a special, well, I'll tell you what I'm building. I'm building a little vocabulary training app. It's kind of unique. I'm building it using Replit. So I'm using AI to build an app. It's almost done. And I think you'll enjoy it. If you're a member, you'll get an access code to play. It's kind of a game. You'll get an access code to play it every week, and it'll have high scores and everything like that. It's really, really, I'm really enjoying building it. So it'll be done in a few weeks, probably early August, mid-August, I'll roll it out. So if you're a member, you'll have access to that as well each week. Okay, from the chat, here we go. From Know That, hey Bob, what are your plans for today and the weekend? Do you have anything special on your schedule? Thanks in advance. I'm allowed to walk again. So I'm allowed to go for a walk. After this live stream, I'm going to go for a 15-minute walk. I'm supposed to walk 15 minutes today and increase the length of my walk by 5 minutes every day until next week, Friday. That's what my physiotherapist told me to do. I'm supposed to walk somewhere flat, no incline, and then it should be more of a stroll. Like I can't power walk. I can't do a brisk walk. So I can just go for a 15-minute stroll. And that's supposed to be good for my shoulder as well because your arms move. So anyways, that's my number one plan. Number two, Jen and I think are most likely, I think we might see the movie F1. That might be next weekend actually though. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's in the books as well. I like racing movies. I like the sound. I like seeing them in theaters. Let's see here. From Key Park, is fiasco from the Spanish? Possibly. I don't know. Freddie Will says, Bob, you forgot Jennifer Forrest, one of your Canadian fellow teachers who makes very good American lessons as well. Do you know her? I don't know her personally, but I have seen her videos pop up from time to time. I think she does a very good job. Mode says, hey members, Mr. Bob didn't forget about us this time. Yeah, last week. Did you realize, can you tell, you can tell me in the chat, but can you tell I feel way better today than I did last Friday? Like last Friday, I just felt like I really need to do a live stream, but I didn't feel 100%. What did I say last week? I was feeling 70 or 80%. Today, I feel great, like relatively speaking. I don't feel amazing, but I think you can probably tell I feel much better. John and Freddie say fiasco is from the Italian. Okay. Ismail says, hi, Bob. A quick off-topic question. I saw this sentence. Had I known, I would have helped you. Why had I instead of if I had? Do you use it in daily conversation yourself? Yes. If I had known, I would have helped you. Had I known, I would have helped you. Both are correct. The second one is just our natural desire to speed things up. So we leave off the if. So had I known I was going to break my collarbone if I fell down, I wouldn't have played baseball. Had I known that I was going to get injured, I wouldn't have played at all. Yeah, there you go. If I had known, had I known, both work. Key Park says, oh, sure. Thanks, John Wedge. Freddie Wolf says, Bob, are you going to speak about Murphy's Law, where if the thing can go wrong, it's going wrong for sure? Sometimes every line I choose in a store, this line would be the slowest one. Yeah, so Murphy's Law. Thanks, Freddie, for that. I wasn't planning to talk about it, but I will. Murphy's Law is if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And it relates to things like what Freddie is saying. You think, okay, I'll choose this line because no one's in it. And then it ends up, maybe there's a malfunction at the cash register and it takes the longest. Know that. What did the doctor and your physiotherapist say about your condition healing process last Friday, Bob? I guess you've already been asked about this and I probably missed it, but may I ask you again? No, I talked about it briefly at the beginning, but I don't want to talk too much about myself at the beginning of a lesson, but I will now. Everything's in the right spot. Does that make sense? Everything's in the right spot. Let me see if I can find, and bone is just starting to form. I'm just looking for here. Let me see if I can put this on the screen. I don't know if you guys want to see a fractured collarbone, but you can see, I know it's a little pointy, but actually what they said is there's there's two breaks. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's a break, and then there's a little triangle piece, but everything has kind of moved back into the right spot. The really jagged piece of bone will round off over time. And now over the next 5 weeks, that will just form into kind of an S-shaped collarbone instead of a straight collarbone. Hopefully that made sense to you. So I can't do physiotherapy on this yet because there's not enough bone healing happening, which is common for someone my age. Apparently, when you're in your early 50s, it takes longer. And I'm almost a year older, or am I a year older? Did I turn a year older? Who knows? It's July. Maybe my birthday's not in July. Maybe I lied last year. Who knows? But they just said, come back in 6 weeks. I have another x-ray in the middle of August. So that's the update. My leg, again, I go for physiotherapy. They do some massage therapy, where they manipulate the muscle and it hurts a bit. I'm not supposed to stretch the muscle, and I'm not supposed to try to strengthen the muscle, but I need to use the muscle. So that's why they've suggested that I go for a walk. Let's see here. Idiom. Minos Mill. Is the idiom blow up in someone's face used when we get a bad result? Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, if something blows up in your face, it means you planned for it to go well and it didn't. Hafia says, have you read Project Hail Mary? Yes, I have, by Andy Weir, same author as The Martian. Movie trailer recently came out. You should watch it. I did. Looks hysterical. Seems chaotic with a lot of mayhem too. I'm glad they hid a lot of the details of the book, but they gave you enough to want to see it. No, that says, how was the market yesterday? I went to visit Jen at market. So you know I'm feeling better. I hope your sales went well. They did. Were you there with Jen again this time, or is it still too strenuous for you? Thanks a lot. So yes, I went to physio and then I went to market to visit Jen. I didn't work at market. I have to keep this hand in my pocket when I go out so I don't accidentally do something. Lolly says, Bob, do you know Mark Kulik, an American teacher who lives in Japan? I don't. I should look him up. John Wedge says, hey, Bob, no question, just having fun chatting with our friends. I'm fine, and so is Melissa. That's good to hear. I don't forget your picture. I'm waiting for Melissa to get a little older so she can pay attention to the camera. There you go. John says, fiasco from Italian, fiesta from Spain. Ah, there you go. Then Mode says to John Wedge, I'm happy for you, my friend. It's a good sign that Melissa is clever and sharp, although once she starts walking around, I don't know. Clever toddlers tend to break a lot of things. Yes. I'm glad we're out of the toddler stage. Ismail, do you think you'll be able to play sports like baseball again, or would it be safer to avoid fast running from now on? I don't plan to do I don't really play sports like that, so I don't think I'm going to volunteer to play again. I'm going to coach maybe more. John Wedge says, don't forget to give a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Mode says, hopefully by then Mr. Bob will have made a lesson on how to child-proof the house. John Wedge says, haha. No, that says, thanks for answering my question. No problem. Hafia says, clavicle looks cloudy. Sorry, bad joke, Bob. Yeah. The first x-ray I did not enjoy. It does not look good. This one I thought looked a lot better. So Freddie says, Bob, currently you wear mostly shirts. Is this related to your injury in order not to stretch too much your collarbone? So I'm still wearing shirts with buttons. I can wear t-shirts, but they have to be really stretchy because I have to put this arm in first and then get it over my head. Okay. And no, that says, I'm happy to hear that you are gradually able to participate in your daily life. Yeah, thanks for that, everybody. I didn't get to any questions from the forum, but there actually weren't very many in there. So if you did put a question in there, I will get to it at the end of the lesson. We're going to go to normal mode again. If you're one of the 232 people watching, don't forget to click that subscribe button. And let's have a sip of water. Let's make sure the camera keeps running. Let's have a sip of water. By the way, I can't do that with this arm. It only goes this far. It doesn't hurt, but it just goes that far. It goes a little further every day. Okay, here we go. Snag, a small problem that slows things down. If I was driving to my sister's house and I got to a place where it said road closed, that would be a snag. It doesn't stop me from getting to my sister's house, but it's a snag. It's going to take me a little while to find a different road to go down. Sometimes when you plan something at the last minute, there are some snags. Maybe you're planning to go on a trip and there's a little snag at the last minute because you didn't fill out the right paperwork. And so you have to do some extra stuff at the airport. Hopefully it's just a small snag, a small problem that slows things down. A hiccup. So a minor and temporary issue, but I should say we use the word hiccup in a funny way as well. So a hiccup is this. So a hiccup is like something you can't control and sometimes you get the hiccups, but we use this word to describe a problem or when things don't go well as well, kind of in a funny way. Like if someone saw me wearing my sling, they would say, whoa, what happened? And I would say, oh, just a little hiccup at work. I fell down in a baseball game. So obviously this wasn't minor, but we sometimes use it in a funny way. So it's just a small hiccup. A glitch, very similar to a malfunction. A glitch is a fault, usually with technology. Sometimes you'll see this when you go to a restaurant now, a fast food restaurant. All of the screens that have the food pricing on them usually work well, but sometimes there's a glitch and maybe the screen has a line down it, or maybe the one screen is blinking on and off. There is a glitch. Here you see there's an IT outage and it says, "Dear customer, this checkout is closed. IT outage due to a global IT outage. We are currently operating on a reduced amount of registers on the self-checkout. We apologize. And and thank you for your patience." There we go. So I forgot about that. I usually say cash register, but you can just say register as well. But a glitch, a fault, usually with technology. An oversight, something missed or forgotten by mistake. So let's say I was going to a play. I was invited to a play and they gave me 2 tickets to sit in the balcony. And then when I get there, they say, "Oh, there's no other seats in the balcony. You have to sit on the main level." That might be an oversight. Someone failed to communicate that Bob the Canadian was supposed to get the VIP seating. So an oversight is when something missed or forgotten by mistake. A slip up, a careless or small mistake. So this is similar to a screw up, but it's less informal. So you could use this word whenever you want. But a slip up would be, let's say I was supposed to pay you $1,000 and I accidentally paid you $1,100. That would be a slip up. So a careless or small mistake where I accidentally gave you $100 more than I needed to. Sometimes you make a little slip up when you're doing things like your taxes. You don't want to, but sometimes it does happen. To botch, to do something badly or clumsily. So if you hired a plumber and the plumber came and fixed your pipes and afterwards there was a leak like this, we would say that the plumber botched that job. It was a botched job. When you botch something, it means you don't do it to the highest quality. You do something badly. I think another thing is sometimes people get plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery and the doctor will botch it and they'll end up with, they wanted their ears smaller and their ears are bigger afterward. I don't know anything about cosmetic surgery, but you often hear that, like, oh, they went in for a nose job and the doctor botched it and then it didn't work the way it was supposed to. Debacle, a sudden and often embarrassing failure. So I said at the beginning of the lesson, they built a new stadium in Toronto for concerts, but they didn't design it for people to be able to exit quickly. And it's a bit of a debacle. It took 2.5 hours for people to get out of the stadium. And I put this picture here for Brent. This is a reference to an election many years ago where in the state of Florida, the little things they used to vote, sometimes it didn't quite punch it out properly. And there was, I think they called it a hanging chad, but it was quite a debacle because they couldn't finalize the results of the election until they hand counted all of the little voting forms. To bungle, to do something clumsily or poorly. You'll notice that some of these are quite similar. If you put all of the cups in the dishwasher facing up, you've bungled it. You've done something clumsily or poorly because they'll all be full of water when you go to open the dishwasher. Downturn, a negative change, especially in the economy or performance. So sometimes there's a downturn in the market. We had a word earlier, right? What was the last one? Collapse is another one where I had a graph. Decline is another one where there is a graph. But sometimes there is a downturn. The stock prices keep going up and then all of a sudden there's a downturn and they start going down. So it's that change that we're referring to. And then a lost cause, something that can't be saved or fixed. This car is a bit of a lost cause. I don't think you could fix this car if you wanted to. Sometimes people are a lost cause. Maybe you have a friend or relative and they just can't keep a job and they never have money. You might say, oh, they're a bit of a lost cause. It's an insult. So be careful when you describe someone that way. But that is what we call a lost cause. I think that's it. That is the end of the lesson. Let me answer a few questions and then we will wrap this up. I'm very happy to be back in full form, at least for YouTube. doing all of these lessons. There'll be another one next Friday. Ali says, I want to learn English. Well, you are doing it right now by watching this live stream. So good work. Awesome. From Celia, hi, Mr. Bob. I just have a quick question. What's the weather like in Vancouver in September? I'm going there for a 1-month study tour. Thanks for the suggestion. So Vancouver is a city in the province of British Columbia on the west coast of Canada, and it's generally much warmer than the rest of Canada. So even in the middle of winter, it might only be -1 or 1 degree or 2 degrees. In September, my guess is it would be a lot like summer. You're going to expect temperatures around 25 degrees Celsius, maybe warmer, and it might rain. So that's what I would be ready for. Probably warm-ish weather, and it might actually rain. Let me see here. Vancouver monthly weather. Let me just see what it says here. September, highs of 19, and then it rained 6 days in September last year. So you're looking at fairly warm, but fairly nice as well. Okay, next question here. From Takagero. Hello, dear teacher Bob. May I ask, why did you not put Donald Trump on the blunder picture? I try to not be political on this channel. My belief is that there are many types of leaders in the world. And I think as I teach English, if I would start to make political commentary, it's not my place to do that. I would say something as simple as this. Things are complicated right now between Canada and the United States, but I'm always hopeful that over time things will get better. So I would not put, I think I've put Justin Trudeau when he was Prime Minister of Canada on some of my slides just because I'm Canadian. But I don't think that would be a good idea to become overly political. You'll notice my lessons, I try to stay away from certain topics. It's because I'm a bit of a wimp. I don't want people to be annoyed with me. So I avoid things like that. Anyways, great questions. Good lesson. It's 9:20. I'm going to wrap this up. And I'm glad my voice worked the whole lesson. One of the side effects of my injuries is I have to sleep on my back and then I snore more and then it irritates my throat. So anyways, thanks for watching. You are all awesome people. New video coming out Tuesday. If you didn't watch last Tuesday's video, you should go do that right now. I'm going to pop that up on the chat. Let's go video. So please do go watch that. It didn't come out at the normal time. And honestly, that video didn't perform very well. Like as normally my videos get a certain number of views. The one from the week before did very well. But I put this one out late in the day Tuesday, and I don't think as many people saw it. So maybe I'll post on my community tab again. Let's see here. No, that says thanks for the lesson and your time. It was uber fun hanging out. No problem as always. Take care and have a wonderful weekend. You too. Bye to everybody in the chat. Hafia says, oh yeah, I saw a video of your current minister, Bob, Prime Minister Carney, wearing a cowboy hat and eating donuts and beer being handed to him. That was random. Yeah, it's the Calgary Stampede in the city of Calgary right now. So that's what you probably saw. Let's see. Mode says I used "it's a botched job" the other day in a imaginary conversation with myself. Yes, I'm delusional. That's a great use of the phrase, by the way. Yeah, he botched that job. It was a botched job. Okay. Bye, everybody. Have a good day. See you.